Hi, church. This is church, thank you. Being that this is my last Sunday with you, I felt like I wanted to share a scripture verse and story that's a little bit more personal to me and what I hope lives on with my having been here. Stanley, I'm so glad that you brought up Loch Leven because part of my story starts there. Summer of 2015 was the first time I was up at Loch Leven. I volunteered as a counselor with a camp full of 3rd through 5th graders, which that on its own is a lot to take on. I didn't know then, but Indigo was actually one of my campers at my very first camp. I had been up to theater camp, and so I had a general knowledge of what being up in the mountains in a camp was like. But I had never done a church camp, and I didn't know the way that this week would start a change in me. On our very first evening of arrival, the camp manager, Sloan, at the time, gave us a little welcome speech and a talk about camp. After introducing herself a little bit and going through some basics of the flow of the week, she had us turn around and look at a sign that used to be at the back of the room. And it read, "Be safe, be kind, and have fun." She went on to say that if we focused on the first two, that the third would automatically happen. But then she took a minute longer to dig into that second one. And she said something along the lines of, being kind isn't just not being mean. It's about going out of your way to do something kind. Kindness isn't about not acting bad. It's about choosing actions that align with who you are. She said maybe it's welcoming a person who's never been to camp, or telling them what way to go to get to the creek, or helping at the evening time. And she said, so this week you get to choose who you want to be. If you act kind, then you're choosing to act like Jesus, even up here in the mountains. Then she moved on to some other basic information and things that were going to be happening. But that really stuck with me all night, all day, and all that week. A few months later, at my previous church, in our Bible study, we happened to be working through Proverbs. This particular day, we were ending that with Proverbs 31. Maybe some of you have heard the term Proverbs 31 woman. That's a little bit of a high standard that is set for us as women and sometimes feels a little unattainable, but that's a sermon for another day. As we got to Proverbs 31:26, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. The NRSV version reads, "She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue." And I thought, whoa, I like that. I feel like that's kind of already who I am. I try to be a good person. I try to do good things. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best. And that stayed with me for a really long time. I decided that I wanted that to be what I guided myself with, something that would become the center of the way that I moved in the world, something I can ground myself on, and in the moments when I wanted to open my mouth in some unwise ways, it helped me stay grounded and choose to be my higher self. So I chose it as my life scripture. I'll come back to the point of kindness in just a second, but let's have a moment to appreciate the idea of opening our mouths with wisdom, knowing when to speak and when to hold something in. I promise to not judge you, but has anyone here ever spoken unwisely? Okay, yeah, well, me too. I promise I have no judgment there and no shade because I have done that and unfortunately still do sometimes. But when I have done that, when I have spoken rashly without thinking about it, I usually have either gotten in trouble for it, I've regretted it, I've hurt someone's feelings when I didn't mean to, or just felt bad for what I said. Most of those times when I've spoken impulsively or unwise, it's not actually had the effect that I wanted it to have. Now, I'm not saying we never speak up, and this is where the distinction comes in. There are absolutely times where we need to speak up, and where that may be the kindest and wisest thing that we can do. Kindness is honest. It's authentic. Sometimes it's hard to say or hard to hear and receive, but it's always done with intention. In this case, kindness is not just a noun, it's a verb, it's action, it's moving from a place of love. Kindness isn't just, let's all get along. Kindness is asking, if our neighbors are suffering, how can we help? And doing it. Kindness is showing up at an immigration courtroom as a legal observer. Kindness is feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, and working on reform to care for the unhoused. Kindness is showing up for the elderly, the disabled, the children, the imprisoned, the marginalized, the sad, and the vulnerable, as Jesus would, as Jesus did, and as Jesus calls us to do. You may not be able to do all of those, and that's okay. If each one of us focuses on one and we show up speaking for those who cannot, then we're doing the work and we're doing it wisely. What we speak is how we move, and how we move is how we show God to others. Did you know that, church? Did you know that you can show who God is to others? Did that make you feel proud or a little called out? It's okay, whichever one it was. It means you were meant to hear this today, and you can move forward remembering that kindness is action. It's who God calls us to be. I'm going to ask Eric to pull up our discussion question. And for those who are not here week to week, we tend to take a little time in between in our sermon to ask some questions. In a moment, you'll turn around to your neighbor. It's a little different since we're not at tables anymore, but you can turn to someone next to you or across the way from you. And you can either go through both questions or just pick one. And our questions today are, was there a time that you intentionally spoke or chose not to speak? Number 2, share about a kindness done unto you and how that showed you a piece of who God is. We'll have about 10 minutes for this, and I hope that you will have a lovely discussion time. Well, thank you, church, for this time and for this discussion and for all of your thoughts and for everything, really. This has been such an interesting transition and journey these last couple of months, working with Sadie and Ryan in the transition, working with our board, with our membership, with our staff, with everyone in this. It has really been an emotional time for me. And so I just have some final things I want to say to you all. And of course, I'm going to start with all my church babies. Most of them are in the back, but a couple of them are in the room still. To my church babies from 1 to 21, I love each of you dearly. Your bright little faces have made every single day here so beautiful. You have taught me so much about who I want to be and how I want to show who God is. I hope that you know that you are loved even when I'm not here anymore. I hope that you laugh and play and work and learn as we did together in children's church. I hope you see how important you are, how perfectly God made you, and how each one of you continues the story of God and God's good work in this world. To the parents, thank you for trusting me with your most precious creations. Thank you for asking for my opinions, for my thoughts, for my help, for my prayers. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of their lives and your families. I promise to pray for them and you every single day. A mi gente. Yo sé que muchos de ustedes vinieron a esta iglesia por mí, pero también sé que no soy la única razón por qué se quedaron. Ustedes saben que hay algo especial aquí, algo que los sigue trayendo cada semana. Nuestra comunidad ha crecido y es porque ustedes decidieron quedarse y crecer sus raíces aquí. No se rindan. Ustedes, juntos y con más que vendrán, van a lograr algo que superará lo que yo pude hacer. Harbor Christian Church and Salim's Christian Church in sunny Newport Beach, California, even in the middle of winter. Thank you for all of the times that you held me, even when you didn't know you were doing it. When you prayed for me, when you gave me grace, when you let me be a little late because of my commute. You believed in me, you supported me, and you gave me this space, this platform to learn, to grow into this new role and into this new journey that's ahead of me. Just last year, we celebrated my commission here. One major achievement for both of us. And now you're sending me off, like someone said earlier, as a gift. I promise to make you proud. And I promise to show in the world what God is doing here at Harbor. So as you go out this week, and I'll call up our praise band, I hope that you find a scripture that is a life scripture for you, that can be your guiding light. Maybe you have one already or have been thinking about one this whole time as you wonder what is something that can ground me as I move. But I hope that you take the time to find the one that is for you. I hope that you will take this teaching that I have brought in the big and the small ways, and that you let it move you to kindness. May it be so.